everyone, and welcome to the RV Inspection and Care podcast and video. I'm Dwayne. I'm a certified RV inspector, and today we're going to be talking about gas-powered RVs versus diesel-powered RVs. Which one is best? Every RV must have an engine somewhere that moves them around and lets them travel down the road. In motorhomes, the engine is in the chassis, and it can be either gas or diesel. In towable RVs, like fifth wheels and travel trailers, well, the engine is in a tow vehicle that pulls them around. But once again, the engine is either gas or diesel. So this is a decision that a lot of RVers struggle with. Which engine should they choose? Honestly, either one can work just fine depending on the circumstances in which you use it. You need to determine what is going to work best for you and the way you travel and camp. So let's start with diesel motorhomes first, and you're going to find them in every category of motorhome, whether it's Class B, B+, C, Super C, and Class A. Let's talk about the pros of having a diesel engine in your motorhome. And actually, a lot of these pros will carry over into other categories of RVs too. The first big pro is a diesel engine is going to give you lots of torque. So what is torque? Well, simply said, torque helps you get a lot of heavy weight up and moving more quickly, and then traveling down the highway in a very controlled way. And that's why you see commercial truck drivers driving diesel-powered trucks down the road with those heavy loads. The second big advantage is it allows the RV builder to put in a lot of extra amenities and luxuries that people love. Things like washers and dryers and tile floors and king beds and bigger, longer slides, all that gingerbread that people really enjoy. Well, a diesel engine can handle the extra weight. The next advantage, it allows for more living space overall. You can get a bigger, longer RV, and a lot of people like that. You'll find that especially in Class A diesel pushers and Super Cs. Another advantage, in most cases, the diesel engine is going to give you more storage capacity, and that's great. Once again, it can handle the extra weight. Another big advantage, it can also allow you to tow heavier vehicles and just heavier things in general. The towing king is probably some chassis of Super Cs that can tow up to 30,000 pounds with their diesel engines. That's amazing. Another big advantage, you will love having a diesel engine in your motorhome when you're in hills and mountains. It helps you get up the hill, and going down a steep grade, you're going to really enjoy that engine brake that helps you avoid riding your physical brakes very much. The next big advantage is that diesel engine is going to last longer than a gasoline engine. In fact, when we're talking about diesel engines in larger motorhomes like Class A's and Super C's, very often the engine will outlast the RV itself if it's used under normal circumstances. Well, not all things are great with diesel engines. So what are the cons with them? Well, number one is they are more expensive to buy right up front. And you're going to see that when you price motorhomes. The diesel-powered ones will be more expensive, and in many cases, much more expensive. The second disadvantage, when it comes time for major repairs, if that happens, well, you're going to spend quite a bit more on a diesel engine in that case than gasoline engines. The next disadvantage, we're talking about repair facilities at this point. Usually there's fewer repair facilities and mechanics for diesel-powered motorhomes than gas-powered motorhomes. And especially, I'm talking about Class A diesel pushers where that diesel engine is buried up underneath the bedroom in the back in most cases. Well, a lot of facilities and mechanics just don't want to have to deal with that at all, so you're going to have a lot fewer repair facilities to choose from. The next disadvantage is all those luxuries that you really love and enjoy. Well, it means also there's more to go wrong in your RV. So for those that own diesel-powered motorhomes, and especially the bigger ones, well, you know what I mean. Very often, there's something somewhere that always needs repair. Let's move on to the diesel-powered tow vehicles now. And when we talk about diesel engines in tow vehicles, well, you're going to find them in Ford, in Chevy, GMC, and in Ram trucks. Usually they're going to come in the 3/4 ton variety and 1 ton category. Just like motorhomes, the big advantage is you're going to be able to pull much larger and heavier RVs with a diesel-powered truck. It's not just the engine, it also has to do with beefier components and suspension and all of that as well. The second big advantage is with a diesel engine in those tow vehicles, you can get RVs that have more features, just like motorhomes. They can have more slides and so on, and that's what a lot of people want. Once again, another advantage, they're great in hills and mountains, getting you up and down easily and safely. And once again, another big advantage, that diesel engine in the tow vehicle just lasts longer in almost every case than gasoline engines. Well, what are the cons of a diesel-powered tow vehicle? Number one, they're more costly to buy. In fact, these days it's probably an average of about $60,000 to buy a new diesel-powered pickup truck. But when we're talking about the really heavy-duty ones, well, you could be very close to $100,000 or more. And that stops a lot of people right there. The second disadvantage is, once again, the repair costs for major repairs on a diesel engine as opposed to a gasoline engine. The third disadvantage, and this is one that's pretty big really, is when you're not pulling your RV down the road and you're using that heavy-duty tow vehicle as your around-town vehicle, well, you're going to notice the difference between it and a passenger vehicle. It's usually much harsher ride that you're going to experience as you go around. That leads us to another disadvantage. When you get to the really big heavy-duty tow vehicles that have dual rear-wheel drive wheels, those can be hard to drive around for a lot of people and really hard to park as well. Well, now let's get into gasoline-powered RVs, and we'll start with gas-powered motorhomes. The thing about gasoline engines, you're not going to get the torque you get with diesel engines, but you get horsepower instead. The big advantage of a gasoline-powered motorhome, less expensive. And this is a big one for a lot of people. They look at the extra cost for the diesel-powered motorhome, and they can see huge savings for the gas-powered version instead. The second big advantage, once again, much easier to repair and less costly for major repairs. That leads us to our next advantage. It means that there's more repair facilities out there to choose from, a lot more mechanics to work on it. But the next advantage is because gasoline engines cannot handle the weight that diesel engines can, the RV itself is usually smaller. And a lot of people like that because it means they're easier to get into campgrounds, they're easier to drive around, and so on. That's a big advantage for a lot of people. What are the cons of gas-powered motorhomes? Well, number one, you're not going to get quite as many extras in them as you are going to get with diesel-powered motorhomes. And so some people are kind of disappointed by that. The second disadvantage, you're definitely going to have a shorter overall lifespan for that gasoline engine than you do for a comparable diesel engine. The next disadvantage, less towing capacity. You can still tow with gasoline engines, but generally speaking, it's going to be lighter vehicles. And the final con or disadvantage is less overall storage capacity in most cases. Well, what about gasoline-powered tow vehicles? You're going to usually find them in the half-ton category and the three-quarter-ton category. Number one advantage here, they're going to be cheaper to buy to begin with, and that's great for a lot of people. In fact, when we're talking about half-ton pickups, a lot of people already have them as their around-town driver anyway. The second big advantage is, once again, gasoline engines will be easier and less expensive to repair on major repairs and so on. But the next advantage is they're just better daily drivers if you're traveling around with your RV, especially when we're talking about half-ton pickups. Well, their ride is so comfortable, it very often rivals just a normal passenger vehicle. A lot of people like that. The next big advantage, because they're smaller than their heavy-duty brethren, well, they take up less room, and people like that. And finally, a big advantage is they're just easier to drive for many people. What are the cons of gas-powered tow vehicles? Number one, you can only pull so much weight with them. In fact, when we're talking about half-ton pickups, I kind of recommend a ceiling of about 7,500 pounds, and even then you've got to really have a good towing package for that. With three-quarter-ton gas-powered pickup trucks, you're probably looking at a ceiling of somewhere around 12,000 pounds instead. But the thing to keep in mind on these kinds of trucks is what often limits gas-powered pickup trucks more than towing capacity is payload capacity. So watch that carefully. Finally, with a gas-powered pickup truck, there's less longevity. The engine, once again, is just not going to last quite as long before it needs to be overhauled or rebuilt. Well, I think you can see from all we've talked about here in this video, there's a lot of pros for each kind of engine, but there's also cons, and many of them are very similar depending on whether it's a motorhome or a tow vehicle. What I hope is that this video will help you decide on which kind of engine fits you and the way you travel and camp best. And that way you can make the best decision for your needs. And that's it for now. Have safe and happy travels, my friends. Until next time.